course of my career, I've covered a series of things we could have done better. One of them, I was covering the Soviet Union, actually, I think before Strobe, maybe before Strobe got there. And one of the things that struck me was that we sent out teams of economists with privatization plans and hard currency plans, but what the country really lacked was social trust. And we were sort of oblivious to some of those problems. In Iraq, obviously, we sent in the military. I think our leaders were oblivious to the psychological and cultural realities of the country. We had a financial regulatory regime based on the assumptions that traders and bankers are more or less rational, self-interested creatures who won't do anything stupid en masse. And then I've covered school reform most concentratedly over the last 30 years. And for much of that period, at least until recently, we've spent a lot of time reorganizing the bureaucratic boxes. Small schools, big schools, charters, vouchers, and we've skirted around the core issue, which is the relationship between a teacher and a student. And that's because if you mention the word love at a congressional hearing, they look at you like you're Oprah. And we're just very uncomfortable with that kind of language. And so the question arises, why are our politicians really good at thinking socially on the campaign trail, but why are they not so good when it actually comes to government? Why do they become basically human CBO reports? And why do we use that methodology to analyze our problems and ignore the most important things? And so I eventually came to the conclusion that it's not just politics, it's a broader distortion in the culture, that for centuries we've had views of ourselves as divided selves, that reason is divided from the emotion, and that society progresses to the extent that reason can suppress the passions. And this has led to a view of human nature upon which many academic disciplines are built, that we're rational individuals who respond in straightforward ways to incentives. It's led a way of seeing and studying the world, sometimes borrowing the methodology of physics and applying it to human behavior. And I think it's led to a great amputation, where we study the things we can count and measure and then ignore all the rest. And so it's led to a distortion, a breeze in the culture, so people are really good at talking about material things, but bad at talking about emotions. I did some stories on college campuses a few years ago, and people were really good at talking about skills and academic accomplishments, but really bad at talking about character, the most important thing. And so Alistair McIntyre, the philosopher, has this famous metaphor. He says, we have words like virtue, vice, sin, but we no longer have the system to understand how they fit together. And so I think there's some truth to that. And so I think there's sort of a prevailing breeze that leads us in a more shallow direction than we need to be.